get to know some of these acronyms and abbreviations. And we shall have a national budget, DT policy and international trade implication on the private sector by Executive Director, DSFU, and national budget efficiency 2018-2019 by ED CSBAG. Then public feedback and open discussion where we'll be expected to give our minds, our thoughts about whatever we have heard. DJ? Thank you, Patrick Cabal, for that. Now we shall have a word of prayer from Reverend Sister, and if we have...
I want to thank you for the gift of this bright morning you have brought us here for this regional budget breakfast. We want to thank you for the gift of our country, Uganda. We want to ask you now that we have gathered for this noble cause, give us the grace to work for unity, for peace, for reconciliation, and for truthfulness in the different institutions where we work, and above all, for the unity of Uganda. We make our prayer through Christ our Lord.
Amen. Do we have anybody from the Muslim fraternity? If not, God is God and is only one. We may now take our seats. We have Mr. Sukhjit Singh, Chairperson, Indian community here in Lira. And we also have Amit Sahar to take charge of Bank of Uganda as the deputy to the governor. He's a very good person here, we like him. And in our midst also we have members from civil society. They are right here in our midst. and others will be informing you about their arrivals and presence here in this gathering. Without back. CS back. Yes. You're most welcome, CS back.
Thank you, moderator. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rama Omonya. I work for CSBAG, and I'm representing the executive director of CSBAG. Some of you also know me as a practicing advocate in Kampala. These days, I multitask. You're welcome to this important gathering to talk about the budget. At CSBAG, we stand for Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group. We are a coalition of over 100 members who work specifically on the issues of the budget. The budget is a very important tool for policy for any government in the world, even for our homes. Without a budget, you can't prosper. I just have a brief message that represents our views from civil society organizations regarding the budget. We all know that a fair and quality service delivery is what every citizen demands. That is why we elect leaders, we put them in places, and in turn, we expect that they will deliver to us the quality services that we need. Since the financial year 2019 and 2020 concluded, it is concluding in 2020, and the NDP2 is also concluding in 2020, we note that there are several completed projects and continue the provision of the health services and education. In NDP2, in the NDP2 period, government has allocated more resources than what government had projected for the 5 years. I think this should be a plus for us to recognize from our government, that they had projected something, but they have actually done more to allocate to achieve NDP2. We are also proud to be in a country where improving social conditions are quite evident. Indicators like maternal health, under 5 child mortality, education enrollment, increasing output from economic activity as measured by the GDP. I think today we stand at around $27 or $28 billion. Well, that's the size of our economy, which is good. Revenue efforts from the URA and Ministry of Finance are also increasing than before. And there is also relative peace throughout the country. So we should be proud to live in such a country. In the speech of the Minister of Finance and Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, he pointed out 3 development challenges, including unemployment, income inequality, and malnutrition. And I think we all see this evident amongst ourselves. Inequality is increasing. The gap between the rich and the poor is widening, and we should be concerned. There is malnutrition amidst all the good foods we have in the country. Where is the problem? And we also know that there are also issues with unemployment. Our young people are not getting employed, and this should concern us all. There are opportunities in the budget for 2019-2020, which we shall be discussing today. And some of these opportunities are things which us as the citizens, we must engage in to make sure we reap the full dividends. 2019-2020 presents half a full glass. Somebody can say it's half full, somebody can say it's half empty. That's the scenario we observe. The responsibility is in our hands to make sure we lift it and make it full. And specifically looking at interventions in areas of post-harvest handling, including provision of storage facilities, linking farmers to agro processing. This has been the first time the government allocated a 1 trillion shillings to the budget for agriculture. It has always never reached there. However, there are still concerns that government should do more to reach the Maputo Declaration, where it is made to commit about 15% of our budget to agriculture. Nominal increase in the budget, we still feel like the real increase is still not there because it's still below even 3% of the national budget. So we still need to do more. However, these interventions in selected districts, especially in agro-processing, that has been one of the biggest problems, and also storage facilities. So there are selected areas for this year, like Kibuku, Kumi, Chenjojo, Toroko, and Nagaseke districts, where they will be building, I think, silos and also improving on the storage facilities. This is expected to scale out throughout the country. So this is an opportunity where we must harness it as they come. The 2019-2020 budget also comes at a time when we are kind of the trade gurus in the East African region. I think for the first time Uganda became the net exporting country in the region, and that means we exported more than we imported from within the region. And that shows, progressivity in our trade balances, which is good. The economic growth strategy also builds some rapid industrialization of economy, which is linked to high productivity and production in agriculture, nurturing potentials of the key growth sectors in tourism, minerals, oil and gas. I think we have seen all this visible improvement in the country, where our oil and gas industries is picking up, there are infrastructures coming up, and we should be proud of this. I think there is also some inconsistency that we have noted, that the 25% import duty has been substituted for some selected commodities to 60%. Now, governments across the world always try to protect their domestic industry from imports. Now, for us, we have increased taxes on some selected ones to 60% to avoid imports. Can I tell you that we import more Irish potatoes from United Arab Emirates? You can't believe it, because that's a desert. How can we do that? But that's a reality. So we had to increase import duties on some of this to ensure we reduce on that. The financial year 2019-2020 process has been where we considered our participation as civil society actors to be the most, this is exhibited by our partnerships with the Ministry of Finance and Uganda Revenue Authority, the first of its kind. We held an exhibition week, I think from 5th to 7th in Kampala, where we showcased different services government offers as a basis for collecting taxes from you. And we think that this kind of partnerships will continue. We still engage with the Ministry of Finance in different spaces where we add value to the processes. However, despite all these progressive developments, we also still think there are risks to job creations and industrialization. Now, one of the things that we have noted is that whereas we expect industries to create more jobs, we are also concerned that these jobs might not be the kind of jobs that we need if we don't pay keen attention to specific details of what these industries will be bringing. We should know that the 40.4 trillion can deliver so many things for Uganda, but if we also don't pay keen attention to what it is, they might not deliver this. So as we talk about industrialization, let's think about, are our children getting the jobs? What kind of jobs are they getting? Do they have contract of service which can show that they are really employed in these places, so that in case of any job insecurity, they can be defended? And for the manufacturers who are coming to the country, you must ensure that you do this, because our labor laws says that you must issue this kind of contracts to our people. We must also ensure that they are employed in areas where there can be skill transfer. Skill transfer means you are in a sector where you can gain more skills from the coming of these industries. If you are only engaged in pushing manual things around, filling the sacks and all that, we don't consider that quality job. So there is a real risk of that. We also think that there is a real issue of financial decentralization efforts, which is still trying to fail. Whereas government will allocate about 2.2 trillion to the local government this year, financial year 2019-2020, we think that government needs to do more. This is still about 12% of the national budget, which is below. The local government association has always been complaining that if they can raise it to about 20%, it will do something more. Decentralization was brought in to help service delivery, but also participation of citizens. Now, when we allocate little money to these sectors, we find that there are problems. I'll give you an example. A government, local government, like out of this 4 billion, about 3 billion might go to conditional grants. That means it's really tied to certain things. If it is building classrooms, it's classrooms. So the local government will have very little room to maneuver in order to the finding in our local government system. So here we urge government to look critically into the misuse of supplementary budgets. As we talk, I think about 2 or 3 weeks, there was a supplementary bill in Parliament, just close to the close of the financial year. It is still there. Why? Supplementary budget distorts the planning process. If a given sector has planned like this, then another one comes and says, no, for us, we want a supplementary budget like this. Sometimes they even draw from other sectors to make sure the sectors go on. And this is a very big concern. We urge Minister of Finance to try to put a stop onto this. The Uganda is still quite high. One of them is the issues of the high cost of electricity. Sometimes this discourages manufacturers who comes here. But we're also hopeful that maybe as Karuma comes on board, and other ones which they're still constructing, other smaller ones, maybe this would come on, would come down, but we still think call attention to the issues of pricing, because this is where sometimes we get it wrong, and even if we have many dams coming up, we might not have power coming down, and this will affect our aspirations to industrialize, because without it, industries can't come. We also noted that there are low capacity to deliver projects, especially the infrastructure projects that has come up. Up to now, there are still a couple of projects where the money is sitting somewhere redundant. The project has not been delivered, and sometimes we have borrowed money and we are paying interest on this money, even when we haven't done anything. So government should try to look into the capacity and first to absorb this funding, but also to ensure that we have capacity that can deliver on these projects. So far this year, I think we are going to pay in excess of 3.6 trillion to interest rates, and it is so bad if we are paying interest on money which is sitting somewhere or on projects which has been handled badly. We also know that there is still continued public expenditure on non-priority areas in this current year, and we think that an implementation of the NDP2 on average, the annual budget expenditure was 81%, which still gives us room and opportunity to look at NDP3, which will be coming. The opportunity is now for us to shape what NDP3 looks like and have serious concerns. The other important area which we note with concern is on the justice, law and order sector, that we feel it is dragging the country down. In the NDP2, we never had it as a priority sector. Somehow we skipped it, we thought other areas are important. But I speak from you, to you, from the background of a lawyer who goes to court every day, who represents clients. We have tens and tens of billions, of shillings seated in courts because, businesses cannot go through until the matter is decided by court. Sometimes it takes 3, 5 years, 10 years, and so on. We need to do something to borrow from perhaps our friends in Rwanda, where they guarantee an investor that if a matter goes to court, they'll sort it out in 100 days. There will be a decision. You can go to appeal, then it's 30 days, the decision is delivered. This guarantees confidence to the investors who comes here, because if you come here and the matter is challenged, is in court, and it takes 5, 10 years, it erodes the investor confidence. So we think it's an area that government also needs to look into very well. Lastly, the other concern is the debt. We know that Uganda's debt, according to all development partners, including IMF and World Bank, is still sustainable. We are still below 50%. And every economist will tell us that this is still okay. We know that there are countries with over 100% debt to GDP ratio, and they're okay. But we also know there are also countries with below 30%, and they're still struggling. So what should be, our priorities when it comes to issues of debt? A debt we borrow in foreign currency, we also pay back in foreign currency. But we collect our money in shillings, we convert them to foreign currency to pay the debt. And sometimes this is where the problem also starts. So when we focus only on the debt to GDP ratio of 50%, and we think we're still okay, we might be in serious troubles at some point. So we must have a conversation about this, and government must ensure that their borrowing thirst is reduced. If we can sequence some of these projects, we can sequence them over the years. We don't need to do all the infrastructure projects at once and put the current and the future generations in jeopardy. In conclusion, therefore, we continue to urge citizens to engage in the issues of budgets. Our experience is that when the budget conferences starts at the village levels and parish levels, it is at PDC, and that's the first step of the budget process. That's where you and I as a citizen must voice our concern. We note that there are very, very few people who turn up for these processes, and sometimes they leave the technical people to fill in the gaps. When they sit in their offices, they can begin now to decide on what should be done because you and I did not come to participate. So whenever there is an opportunity to participate on the budget process, we urge you, as civil society actors who work on this, we urge you to come up, support the government in deciding on what priorities should be for the next year's budget, and also helps you to hold the leaders accountable. When you participate in this, you know how much is allocated for this sector. When tomorrow you know the money is not there, you can ask them, this much was allocated, how come it has not come up? Without you holding them accountable, they can always digress, and this happens in every country of the world. So please always come up and participate, and ensure that your budget process is very well participated. Uganda ranks #2 in the entire African continent, by the way, on budget transparency. The entire African continent after South Africa. I think we have staggered around 62 percentile points, and we think we can still improve it around 70 or even 80 if we all come and participate. Let's not leave these things for technical people to decide what is good for us. And we also pledge our commitment to continue with our partnerships with the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, with the Uganda Revenue Authority, to ensure that we also understand where this money is coming from, because it's important that we only don't talk about the budget spending, we also talk about where this money is coming from, because likely it comes from the taxes. And this year the government estimates that URA will collect around 20 trillion, and we should know where this is coming from. Are they progressive taxes? Will they drag us down? We must all be engaged in this kind of discussions. For God and my country. Thank you.
Yes, I think the guy was organized.
I'm Paul Sodom, Assistant Commissioner in Domestic Taxes Department of URA. I'm here to talk about the policy changes related to tax laws and their implication in terms of you transacting with URA or you paying your taxes. I go right straight to the income tax. What has changed and what does it mean to you? But before I talk about the change, there is some definition that needs to be clear to you that is going to impact on what is being introduced. And the definition here mainly is the definition of a citizen for tax purposes. The second one. Okay? This one includes citizens of the East African states and companies with at least 51% of ownership. That is how the citizen is going to be or has been defined for this purpose. This clarifies who benefits from the different exemptions that we are going to talk about shortly, and it applies to incentives under the Excise Duty Act, VAT Act, and the Stamp Duty Act as well. Now, the first significant policy change the next financial year is the exemption from income tax for a period of 10 years. And in this case, it's a tax exemption for leasing facilities in an industrial park, free zones with a capital of at least $50 million US for a foreigner, and $10 million US for a citizen as earlier defined. I hope you remember the definition of a citizen that I gave. Then, in addition, there's a 10-year, first of all, the first one is basically referring to developers in industrial parks. Now, for an operator in an industrial park, there is also a 10-year exemption with a capital of at least $10 million for a foreigner and $1 million for a citizen, as earlier defined. These exemptions are mainly meant to facilitate those who are investing in those gazetted areas like the industrial parks and the free zone areas. There is also an exemption of income from interest paid on infrastructure bonds with a maturity period of at least 10 years. This is mainly for banks. Interest paid has been 10% for the value, and that's making borrowing expensive. With effect from next financial year, it will be only at 100,000 shillings. For those who are not within those gazetted areas that have been mentioned, that like the industrial parks and free zone, there is also specific exemptions for them. There is a 10-year exemption for business outside industrial park, free zones with capital of $10 million for a foreigner and $1 million is for the citizens, and I am sure many of you would fall in that category. However, in addition, there are some other conditionalities. You must use 50% of local raw materials subject to their availability, and at least employ 60% of the citizens. You must note that the theme is industrialization for job creation and shared prosperity. And the focus of this exemption is mainly on strategic investment projects. And they are for specific sectors. If you all have read or read the minister's budget speech, most of these have been highlighted in the speech. I'm sure you all have copies of that speech. Now, one of the areas that is being looked at is agro-processing, manufacture and assembling of medical appliances, medical sundries, and pharmaceuticals, establishing or operating a vocational or technical institutes, business logistics and warehousing, information technology, all of commercial farming. All players in these sectors qualify for the above exemptions based on the category in which you fall in. I'm sure in Lira, you have very many people who are in oilseeds processing. For example, sunflower, shea nut oil. I think I've consumed some of this from Lira. I remember I consumed your product, shea nut. Yes. Yes, very good products of shea nut, which I also use. There is cassava processing. The shea nut oil, I think, is one which is called the mayo. Textiles, I'm sure there are many who are in cotton. Fruit processing, fish farming. There's a gentleman whose fish farm I visited here in Lira. I don't know whether he's around. But the idea of these new policy changes is to ensure that you add value to what you are doing. Now, there is also For financial institutions and insurance companies, again, okay, the industries again that qualify to be withheld from. This will have to apply to the Commissioner General, as has been done, and it will be based on compliance to your tax obligation that this exemption will be granted. The Act, the zero-rated supplies. For this year, the supply of drugs, medicines, and medicinal sundries manufactured in Uganda are zero-rated. What this means that whoever is dealing in this category of supplies is entitled to claim input VAT. However, there is another category of exempt supplies who are not entitled to claim input VAT. Of course, there is aircraft insurance services which may not apply here, rice mills, agricultural sprays, imported drugs, medicines, and medicinal sundries. As you can see, this is meant to encourage the supply of drugs produced locally within the country. There have been some exemptions for materials used for educational purposes. You can see the first and the last bullet. These are specifically for educational purposes. The mathematical sets, imported crayons, colored pencils. However, there is something specific in the last bullet which is talking about computer tablets. These may not be in these normal tablets that we use. These are specific, and sewing machines are exempt next financial year going forward. The supply of feasibility studies, locally produced materials for construction of a factory or a warehouse, and locally produced raw materials and inputs or machinery, equipment to a business owner who, again, as mentioned earlier, invests $10 million or for a foreigner or $1 million for a citizen, qualifies for VAT exemption. And another conditionality is must use 70% of the local raw materials and employ at least 60% of the citizens. And of course, must be in line with the strategic investment projects as listed earlier. This is specific to technical or vocational institute operators. Again, the supply of feasibility study and design services, locally produced materials for the construction premises, and other infrastructure and machinery that is needed within those ventures is also considered exempt for VAT purposes. The other tax head that is affected is the stamp duty, and specifically the Stamp Duty Act. This applies to the banks. The stamp duty for bank guarantees, insurance has been reduced from 1% of the value to shillings, Uganda shillings 100,000. And for all the projects, as mentioned earlier, the strategic projects that we have mentioned earlier that are in line with the theme, there is nil stamp duty for instruments in all those strategic investment projects. So any stamp duty that may be required for any instrument in that line is going to be considered, is taken as nil. The rate of payment to informers, people who come and give us information about fellow taxpayers who are dodging taxes, we have been paying them 10% of the tax discovered. But now it has been reduced to 5%. Looks like you are getting a lot of money. Okay? So if you volunteer information that will lead to revenue generation, we pay you. For a list of returns in Schedule 4, that one will be availed in the updated Tax Procedure Code Act. I want to currently, when we get you, when you have not complied, we apply interest and tell us, guys, look, I have a problem here. For the last period, must self-declare. Don't wait for us to come to you. You must self-declare. Secondly, you will be required to pay only the interest, the principal, the principal. The interest and penalty will not be applicable. Is that clear? I thought you were going to clap for that. So if you have a tax liability of 20 million, sometimes you find interest is of 80 million. You add on penalties, double the tax, you find yourself in 300 million. So what we are saying, now you'll be only required to pay the 20 million. So what this means, ladies and gentlemen, go back and do your homework very well. Beginning 1st July, run to the offices and declare, self-declare. That this is my position for the last 1, 2, 3 years if you have never seen them, and we shall have a discussion, but be assured you will not pay interest and penalties. Excisable products, and as gazetted by the minister. The first focus is going to be on alcohol, spirits, wines and spirits, beers, mineral water, and sodas, and of course cigarettes. What I'm trying to say is that if you look at this bottle of water, it is produced by Ronsol, but it's not 100% a guarantee that is the one who produced it. You get me? Yes. So there are many counterfeits around. That may be one instance where I'm producing the water from. Okay? Someone opens in his garage, gets water, bottles it, and puts it on the market. At least for this one, because of the brand name, you know it is Ronsol. But you're not 100% sure that it's actually from Ronsol. So what the tracking solution is going to help us is that all these products, as they pass through the production line, they will be coded with a specific code or a stamp for alcoholic products. For those who drink wine, spirits, and for spirits, there is a policy which has stopped the production of spirits in the Cavera sachets. I hope you are sure you are aware about that. Again, that is in line with ensuring the health of the citizens is taken care of. So going forward, all those must be produced in recognizable containers which can be tracked. So what will happen when you receive this bottle? There will be a mechanism for you to check this code and know this product was produced in Ronsol on this date and it's actually paying taxes. And also give you confidence that this is a worthy drink to consume. For some of us who take wines and spirits, everyone is producing spirits. You don't know how good that spirit is for your health. Okay? So we're also working hand in hand with UNBS to ensure that we also take care of the standards, the conformity aspects. Then the other aspect and e-invoicing. Whereas the other one is taking care of only those who are inexcisable, who are dealing in excisable products. This one, at the end of the day, is going to affect all taxpayers. All taxpayers. Now, what this is meaning is that every taxpayer who has got a gadget that he uses to produce a receipt for a client. For example, the cash registers you see in the supermarkets. Currently, those are not fiscalized gadgets. But through this initiative of the electronic fiscal devices, we are going to ensure that every taxpayer has a fiscalized gadget. A fiscalized gadget means that whatever you supply as an invoice must have a tax element. I have charged you VAT, I have not charged you VAT, for in case of exempt. The trick here is that that information, as I am giving you a receipt, it is being transmitted to the system of the tax body. First of all, this is going to help in terms of record keeping. No more shall we come to a taxpayer and we ask for your sales. We shall come with your sales and tell you these are your sales, please confirm. Isn't that good? So that we don't base our assessments on assumptions. We shall know the exact amount and tell you this is the tax position. And some areas we have been haggling on issues related to tax invoices for claiming input tax. You tell me the other guy supplied me this, and I'm telling you that's not a proper tax invoice. And so we start haggling over that issue. Going forward, the only recognizable tax invoice is going to be the electronic fiscal device receipt. And as the solution is being implemented, eventually, for you to claim input tax, you must use that invoice. And this will help us in very many things. First of all, to quicken our services to you. For example, now claiming a VAT refund from URA is a bit of a hassle. I'm sure those who have claimed for VAT refunds know that. It's a bit of a hassle. But with this solution, I even don't need to ask you for the receipt. Once you come, I check your return, you are claiming for VAT refund, I will check on the system and see all your invoices and automatically give you the refund. That is the beauty of introducing these solutions. As we have realized, many people don't keep records. I don't know whether it is by design to dodge the tax man, but at the end of the day, it becomes a problem when I get you in business and I use assumptions to assess you. But now, government is trying to help in terms of helping that area of record keeping. The other areas are improvement of the tax solution. We shall also focus mainly on rental tax enhancements. People who own properties and don't pay rental tax, that's going to be another area of focus. Well, it has been an area of focus, but we are going to enhance it. We have done a lot of VAT deregistrations. The idea is that we want to keep a clean register of our taxpayers.
Okay, thank you so much. Honorable Minister, you are most welcome once again. We have Assistant Commissioner, Budget, Minister of Finance, Planning. We also have Acting Commissioner General, Rubagumia Patience, seated there with you, Madam Minister, and we have Assistant Commissioner Process Management, James Mudong. We have Mr. David Opio Kello, former Deputy Governor, Bank of Uganda. In our midst, we also have the Chief Administrative Officer for YAM. We also have Mr. Surjit Singh. He is the Chair of Indian Association in Lira. We also have Afande Awon, he is the Regional Prisons Commander, seated right there. In our midst, Honorable Minister, we also have Mr. Ogwan Goli, he is the Director of Private Sector Foundation. We also have Patrick Abal, he is a former cow of Apache. He is also a clan leader in this land, so he's a cultural leader, very important gentleman around. We have the District Chairman of Riyam, Honorable Nelson Adeaka, where 3 ministers come from, and he's the only chairman hosting 3 ministers in Lao here. And we have Reverend Father Desiderius Ole Lima, he's the Vicar General of Lira Diocese. I saw him around. We also have Reverend Johnson Mugema from Victory Outreach Ministries right there. We have the Resident District Commission of Aleppo, he was seated right here, I think, as he went out a bit. And we have amidst us Teo Chibirige, he's the Chairman, National Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Lira branch. We have the Mayor of Lira Municipal Council right there. We have the Town Clerk of Lira right there at the pillar. We have the Resident District Commissioner of Lira. I saw him around. Yes, here he is. And the Resident District Commissioner of Kone. This is my second time to see you, sir. My eyes are not so good, I think. You just forgive my eyes. It is not my fault, it is my eyes' fault. Not me, my eyes. Then, there are very, very big personalities here, Madam Minister, and we also have different business community members, cultural leaders, and taxpayers in their various categories, including myself. You are once again most welcome to this breakfast. Now,
Minister, our very own Honorable Grace Quichwin, all the commissioners and officials from the Ministry of Finance, the CS Bank team around, all other delegates in your various capacities, not excluding the former Deputy Governor, Bank of Uganda, Dit Opio. You are most welcome. I am Nelson Adeaka, the District Chair of YAM. I have a simple task to just greet you and invite the Honorable Minister to come and address this gathering. First, before I invite the Honorable Minister, allow me to re-echo what I found one presenter, I think from civil society organization, talking about here, about the allocations to the districts. It is very good the real ministry officials are here today, and we are still trying to make budget advocacy group mentioned here. The allocations to the districts are becoming meager and meager each and every year. And for us at the district, we are getting it very difficult to run these districts with so many activities and yet tied to small budget. In fact, it is a very big problem down here. I wish any of the top people could come and sit down and run these districts even for only 1 or 2 months. They will not repeat this punishment they are really doing. Of all the budgets of the country, we have over 100 and something, 130 districts plus, and yet we get only about 12 or 13% of the national budget. And if you round, this is the whole country, because all the districts are located in the country. And now, out of the 12 or 13%, 9 goes for salaries of the staff. And we remain with either 3 or 4 to put on development. There is nothing on emergency like disaster. We had terrible storms when this rain was coming back. Most of the schools' roofs have been blown up, and they come to the district chairman and they call, go and roof our school, what are you doing for us? The MPs will come and ask you, the other school was blown out in my constituency, what are you going to do about it? The whole burden lies on us. We really plead that the situation on the ground is terrible, leave alone the remuneration of the leaders of these districts. Members of parliament go and just put their figures the way they want. There is no restrictions on, say, 20% of the previous local revenue. Why can't they put it on theirs? They restrict it on the district, and yet most of the revenues are taken by Uganda Revenue Authority. We remain with these granules and tomato sellers. And sometimes the fountain of honor, with this sympathy to the voters, will come and say, don't disturb my voters. So, dear people, this is the cry of the local government. I'm so happy to the master of ceremony who has picked on me. Somebody else will continue to say what I've said today, because it is a real truth on the ground. We are running the districts in a lot of difficulties. Very early in the morning, you find your door filled up with people. And burials are everywhere. They expect you to be there. So, dear members, if we were giving them development, service delivery, they would be happy. In a year, you can only construct about 2 or 3 primary schools. And yet, in Uyam, we have 109 primary schools. You cannot finish this even if you were given 10 years. But now in our 5 years, what shall we show? Sincerely, it is not easy down here. We know the resources are limited, but let us share as the civil society budget advocacy group said, because if we are to restrict ourselves on the 13% to the district, including even the salaries, we are really trying to keep our people off from the real service delivery meant for them. So this is my plea, Honorable Minister, and the team from Ministry of Finance, who sit and cut this very good cake, so that when you go back, reconsider putting the knife at a place nearer to 20%, so that you also smile like everybody else. The 20% to councillors, the ministers, I was shocked. The other time, even a colleague who was a district chairman, but now is a member of parliament. By the way, your honorable members, if you don't look otherwise, you are forcing all of us at the district to campaign to be members of parliament. And that is the war we are going to wage. Otherwise, make life also comfortable down here so that we don't disturb you. But when you make it hot here, we shall look for the cooler places. Because the law is the higher you go, the cooler it is. Otherwise, on a better note, I want to announce that we are very happy with the theme of the budget, which is industrialization for job creation and shared prosperity. We have already acquired, in the process of acquiring industrial park, as directed by His Excellency, in the Yam district, near where we are the host of the hydroelectric power of Karoma, jointly hosting together with Kiriandongo and Moya. So we want to make the best use of this. We have already got industrial park land, which we're in the process of paying it. So we invite investors to come and storm our district and supplement the meager resources that we have. I thank you for listening to me. Honorable Minister, who you are trying to help us, your ministry is really helping the district through NOSAF and other places, and we wish well for you. May I therefore now invite you, our very own dear sister, to come and address this gathering.
Thank you very much, Chairperson Oyam District, the people from the Ministry of Finance, which includes Revenue Authority, the private sector, the civil society organizations, the RBCs, the COWs, the LC5 chairpersons, the taxpayers. I'm happy to be here this morning, and I'm happy to act for a few hours today as the Minister of Finance, though I am Minister for Northern Uganda and MP for Zongo District. And so for these few hours, I'm happy to, I think this is the first time the country is going out to sensitize the citizens about the budget. When I was growing up, I remember people would, during the budget reading, people would sit around radios and listen to what is going to be announced. It's a new chapter. Then people discuss without anybody guiding. But this move the government has taken this year, I think is very elaborate, is very comprehensive, and it has to be this way because our economy is growing. Our people need information, and our economy is getting more complex than many years ago, when we would just only understand an increase in the price of soap and paraffin and sugar. But these days we produce so many things, and I really want to thank the government for the environment it has provided, that we are seeing what we can produce, and we are participating in our own economy. And so I have a speech here to read. I'll read it to the letter and add very few things. As you know, the theme of this year's budget is industrialization for job creation and shared prosperity. Uganda's economy has recovered and picked momentum, growing at over 6% per annum over the last 2 years. With the progress in economic growth, average incomes of Ugandans have increased to $825 US, that is slightly over 3 million shillings in financial year 2018-19, compared to US $800 in 2017 and 2018. When this national document says that our economy has recovered, I think in northern Uganda we are a testimony. From the destruction, from the wars and the stability we went through, we are a testimony. The roads we see, the things we see, should really be our witnesses that we can confess that the economy has recovered. The structure of the economy has changed. The share of industry in the economy is now 21% compared to 11.3% in '86. Services has increased to 48.7% from 32% over the same period. Export performance has been excellent, with diversification leading to non-traditional cash crops earning Uganda 2.84 billion last financial year, compared to traditional cash crops, which earned 0.79 billion. National grid electricity connections have increased to 1.3 million customers, and the rural electrification access rate rising from 1% in 2001 to over 13% in 2019. Many new factories have been opened in the course of financial year 2018 to 19. As a result, the proportion of Ugandan products in supermarkets has increased from 15% in 2017-18 to 45% in 2018-19. Our target is to reach 50% by the year 2020. We see a lot of our own products in supermarkets, something we never saw before. We saw the ODs, we saw the millet flour, cassava flour, everything is there in the supermarkets. However, despite the positive milestones, we are still faced with some major development challenges, including unemployment, widening income inequality between rural and urban areas, and malnutrition. Therefore, the objective of the budget for 2019-2020 is to continue to commercialize subsistence agriculture, foster and stimulate industrialization, and to increase GDP growth and ensure that it is inclusive, thereby increasing the incomes of the population. According to the economic growth strategy for 2019-2020, it focuses on 3 pillars. One is expanding the industrial base of the economy, building on the success already made in production of basic products like cement and tiles to products for export markets. 2 is exploiting natural resource endowments with environmental protection in mind, commercializing agriculture and development of tourism and minerals. 3, providing affordable financing for production and business to support viable private sector enterprises. The priority interventions for the budget for 2019-2020 are therefore centered along the following clusters. 1, enhancing key primary growth sectors. 2, increasing infrastructure access and reliability. 3, human capital development. And 4, maintaining peace, security, and good governance. The primary growth sectors, which include industrialization, commercialization of agriculture, tourism, development and promotion, and commercialization of minerals and oils, has been supported in the following areas. In order to speed up industrial growth, the budget for 2019-2020 will undertake the following key priority actions. 1, develop industrial parks, which the chairman here is talking about, and export processing zones. And as I say this, I think in northern Uganda we have to take this as a serious focus. The government has already spelled it out, but we have a requirement to do: identify those areas marked as industrial parks, and invite the government, invite the Ministry of Finance, invite the Ministry of Investment to say, we are ready, just like the chairman has said it, so that we can also pick up. Reforming technical and vocational education and training to provide the skills required in the job market, provide support to industrial research and innovation, establish regional science and innovation hubs, and extend investment incentives. Under commercialization of agriculture, the following are the key priority areas: provision of storage facilities and linking farmers to agro-processing facilities to support agro-industrialization. 2, delivery of quality inputs and services. 3, development of irrigation infrastructure. 4, providing small-scale solar-powered irrigation systems for the last-mile irrigation. 5 is strengthening inputs and product standards certification to improve production and enhance the quality of production. I also want to underscore this because we have an advantage of large land, large fertile land, but we are not managing the land properly. We need to refocus on the land use. We need to organize ourselves so that we can attract some of this support, but most importantly, to produce more so that we can earn more. As I talk now, Acholi region has a Nwoya district with large commercial investments in agriculture. And it is because of that investment that Nwoya has been lifted out. If you look at the data of wealthy districts in Uganda, there are 15. And in the whole of northern Uganda, it's only Nwoya district which qualifies with a per capita income of about $750. Lira is following, leaping back very far at about $100, and Gulu and Arua. But Nwoya, because of the investment that has been put by their own effort, also by the effort of investors and also the effort of the government, that has lifted Nwoya. Now we boast of one district in northern Uganda as a wealthy district. I'm just calling upon other districts also to get mobilized. In tourism, the following are the prioritized efforts. 1, aggressive marketing of Uganda's tourism in key markets. Tourist product development. Reduction in the minimum investment threshold that allows investors in hotels and tourist facilities to be eligible for tax incentives. Upgrade and renovation of key tourism infrastructure. We can, and I have always said this in many forums, we can turn around the bad memories of northern Uganda into tourist attraction, where killings took place, where fightings took place, where bad things took place, because this is what other countries are enjoying from. If you go to Germany, you see those historical sites. And for us, we can also turn around these places to make money. But of course, not forgetting our history, but of course saying no to wars. Commercialization of minerals, oil and gas have these areas of focus. 1, there is going to be airborne geophysical survey in the Karamoja region. 2, exploration of 18 priority mineral target areas for rare earth and metallic minerals. 3, the establishment of a certified mineral acid laboratory. And reliability include investment in transmission lines to industrial parks and growth centers, development and maintenance of national and district and urban community access roads. Over 300,000 connections are targeted annually. Skilling the youth, which has been on and it will continue. Functionalizing health and education units countrywide. Improving supplies of medicines. Enhancement of salaries to DHOs and principals. Of course, there was a call here, and in this occasion, I will not talk about salaries for political leaders, but I know that the government is discussing harmonization of salaries across board, revitalizing nutrition education. It's really surprising and shocking to hear that nutrition is a big challenge in this country. When the minister was reading this in the budget and mentioned one of the 3 biggest challenges is nutrition, it really shocked me. And recently in my district in Zombo, there was some international group which came for medical outreach. They also identified nutrition as a challenge. It's still shocking me up to now, but it has sent me to look at what do we really feed on. In the towns, everything is now cooked at the roadside. You pick mochomo and chapati and you go home. In the rural areas, something I never saw when I was growing up. The youth come to the roadside with cassava, with maize, with banana, they roast there, and everybody's buying. The men, the women, the children, I think they eat that and go home to sleep. I think this lifestyle should change. That food is cooked properly and eaten properly. Maintaining peace, security and good governance. Government will also maintain the emphasis on peace and security through fast-tracking the implementation of safe city infrastructure by rolling out installation of CCTV to municipalities and urban centers, among others. I think this has really helped in some of the crimes committed, especially in Kampala, that the criminals have been easily identified and arrested. Financing the budget for 2019-2020 will be by a use of mix of domestic resources and external financing. Domestic revenue for 2019-2020 is projected at 20,409 billion. Of this, tax revenue amounts to 18,877 billion, while tax revenue amounts to 1,571. The debt remains sustainable in the medium to long term. As of December 2018, the debt was at 41.8% of the GDP in normal terms and at 31.7% of GDP in the present value terms. Much of the borrowing next financial year will be used to finance our infrastructure needs under roads, energy and petroleum sector development, education and health infrastructure. To ensure debt sustainability, the following will be prioritized. Timely execution of loan finance projects to increase ability to pay back and hasten realization of the expected growth dividends. 2, contracting loan on concessional terms. 3, diversifying our financing options and aligning the nature of borrowing to characteristics of projects, e.g. commercial loans, will be directed to self-financing projects and infrastructures. In conclusion, therefore, I would like to know the following: that the development strategy for 2019-2020 aims at accelerating industrialization and growth that is inclusive. 2, that Uganda's public debt is sustainable. And 3, that complementary measures will continue to be taken to diversify our financing options and increase domestic revenue mobilization to reduce reliance on debt. And as I end, I really want to thank Revenue Authority for the work they have done, mobilizing, collecting taxes and revenues for this country, which, like we have been informed, now contributes to 61% of the national budget. I think we have to clap to the Revenue Authority for the good work. And not alone, we should also clap for the taxpayers who have responded that we can boast of this amount of money being collected. I also really want to urge us to appreciate this budget, because this budget is one of its kind, which is focusing on growth, industrialization. For a long time, we focused on social services. And social services also has its own limitations. But industrialization is the engine of growth. If we now talk about over 4,000 factories, and I know Lira here has over 47 factories, small factories. Over the last few months, the President has been opening many factories, but in the south. I am counting. How many factories are there for us in northern Uganda? And can we not develop these factories? We have these commodities. The challenge for us is now to get the niche commodity. Which commodity do we work with to put up a factory? The cassava is now a big thing, and the government has a focus, and the government is going to give funds for production of cassava in northern Uganda, and therefore factories. So I've always told my friends in northern Uganda, we have eaten too much cassava. We should now begin processing it for value addition, so that we can get some income, which can help us to get some other resources and benefits. Commercialization of agriculture is being pronounced very clearly, and I have said, and I repeat, we stand to benefit because we have the land and we have the people. What is lacking is strategically identifying partners or some funds that can promote commercial agriculture. I also want to say that we have gone far, and the chairpersons and COWs and RDCs here will testify. We have gone far to discuss Northern Uganda strategy, Northern Uganda development strategy. We have moved a long way with the PRDP mechanism, with NOSAF, with many projects which come and help us. But these programs have focused at community little projects. They have brought us this far, to the extent that accessibility to health facilities, to water facilities, to education facilities have improved. But after that, what next? We need to be as wealthy as other people. And so this strategy of Northern Uganda we are talking about is looking at a higher level, a meso level maybe, and also targeting exactly these commercialization factories we are talking about in this budget now, so that we can get out of where we have been to a different stage, to another stage. If we go industrialization and commercialization, unemployment will be solved for many of us, the youth and women and everybody. Production will increase. Value for our commodities will also increase, and we shall export, and we shall get income. And so when we discuss this strategy, Northern Uganda Development Strategy, which we also intend to invite as many people as possible per sub-region, I would call upon you to bring in your inputs so that we make it a strategy that can turn around the economy of Northern Uganda, so that the disparity can be reduced with the rest of the country. I want to thank you very much for listening.
There's this anchor. Okay. The meaning of faith, the meaning of...
Honorable Minister, allow me to start by introducing myself. I'm by names of John Lira, Assistant Commissioner of Budget, Policy and Evaluation Department, the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. And I'm here representing the Permanent Secretary and Secretary of Treasury. Therefore, I'm presenting this paper on his behalf. And the paper is entitled the overview of the national budget for 1920 and its strategic focus. Honorable Minister, honorable members of Parliament present, RDCs, local leaders, religious leaders present, private sector, civil society organizations, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. The paper I'm presenting is as follows. We shall look at the introduction, then we'll look at the goals, the development goals of the government, action that our government has so far taken, then we'll also share the challenges, and then we'll look at the strategy for next financial year, and the priorities therein, and then we look at the shares by sector, and then conclude. Now, Honorable Minister, yesterday we had the budget dialogue. Meetings were held at Serena. Since the continuation, we started with some time back on the budget is we introduced the budget month. This year's budget, we held these activities at the Ministry of Finance, but we saw that there was demand and there was a need for us to get out there to meet the taxpayers, meet the private sector, and explain to them what all this budget is all about. What this budget is all about and why they pay taxes, why we always ask for taxes. So we rolled it out. That's why we are here. That's why we are here. Regarding the development goal, over the long term, the goal has become, rather the goal of the government or the government of Uganda is now focusing at becoming a middle-income economy. All of us are aware that is the goal, to become a middle-income economy. Then what is required? What is right for us to attain that level? We have to undertake a number of interventions that aim at inclusive growth and then promoting social economic transformation. What are the actions that the government has so far undertaken in this direction? Government has consistently implemented interventions or actions to address infrastructure, deficit in the country, technology, and skill gap in order to support growth. Allow me also to hint on the development so far registered. The economy, as the Honorable Minister has indicated, the economy has recovered, and the growth on average is at 6% per annum for the last 2 years. As she elaborated, the income per capita has increased to $825 this financial year, increasing from 800 registered last year. The quality of the labor force has also improved, with a proportion of those with qualification that is above or the post-secondary education increasing from 7.5% in 2013 to the current 13.6 in 2017.
The information that is coming through to the government is accurate. That will be based on accurate returns. And because of these solutions as well, we are also looking at how can we ease your payment. Now payment, of course, this comes, it is at the end, you made your assessment, you know how much you're supposed to pay. So you can be able to pay your taxes without a lot of hassle. But that is all aimed in ensuring that
it has been motivated, I'm sure.